All right, everybody, welcome back. It's another edition of the Buckeye broadcast with yours truly, Emmet, Brady. And we are in week 3 of this year's Ohio State football season. As you know, here on the Buckeye broadcast, we take a deep dive into all things Ohio State and the state of Ohio. And we look at it through the lens, the filter, the platform of the DAYMA Fitness and Performance System. DAYMA is an acronym for Dance, Athletics, Yoga, and Motion Arts. And on each podcast, we weave in a different health and fitness topic. In addition to the predictions, the analysis, and the scores, and the play-by-plays that we offer, we like to think we're helping to create the healthiest football fans in the land. And this week is a little bit of a hangover. We all know last week's performance against Oklahoma by the Buckeyes in the home opener, the biggest game of the year probably they have until probably Penn State. And, oh my, the boys did not show up to play. And I guess the coaches didn't show up to coach either. It was a walk-away win by the Sooners, especially in the second half. Score was tied 3-3 at halftime. And in the second half, everything just sort of unraveled for the Buckeyes. Missed opportunities, a lot of terrible pass defense. And, of course, they ran into the Baker Mayfield machine. So tip my hat to the Sooners and Mr. Mayfield and their new rookie coach for bringing the Thunder into the Dome, into the Horseshoe. I was actually in Columbus for the game, and it was quite an experience. Got some footage in front of the Rotunda, and we just saw the Buckeyes take a total beating, a beatdown. That was a good old-fashioned beatdown. And, of course, the Sooners were just returning the favor because last year the Buckeyes went into Oklahoma and did it to them. So turnabout is fair play, and obviously everybody, the sports broadcasts and newspapers and Twitter feed, everybody's wondering what is up with the Buckeyes offense. A few years ago, they were seemingly unstoppable, and we have JT Barrett at the top of the game here. So his senior year was a Heisman candidate. I don't think he's there anymore. I don't think his performance in the first 2 games was anything to put him in the running, but that could always turn around as well. Now, today's show, the health and fitness topic we're going to talk about is how to fix yourself, how to recover from injury, or in this case for the Buckeyes, it's how to recover from insult. Not too many injuries on the field, but one of the core principles of the DAYMA fitness and performance routine is that you develop your own personal toolbox, a toolkit for how to prepare yourself to dance, to play sports, to do yoga, or to delve into the motion arts, but also how to recover, how to fix yourself when you're broken, from anything from a simple bump to a major break. How can the human body fix itself? Sometimes you need outside help, but most of the time, especially if you are just trying to stay in good shape, learning how to recover from an injury, the techniques, the skills, the talents, and the medicines, it's really important stuff. So we're going to get into that as well. Real quick look back. I don't think we have to spend too much time talking about what the Sooners did. Baker Mayfield, their fantastic quarterback, took to the air. And, of course, the Buckeyes were gutted. Some of their top players on defense, who they really miss this year, I think, is Malik Hooker, the safety from last year. He went pro, and he created sort of this he was like a leopard in the middle of the backfield there. So it was hard to pass against the Buckeyes last year. And the defense just did not do what they came to do. They didn't hit Mayfield enough. The vaunted front four, they played an okay game, but it wasn't consistent, and it didn't take them to the promised land. He threw for over 400 yards against the Buckeyes. JT Barrett threw for almost 300 yards. He threw for 295. So it wasn't a bad game for Barrett and the Buckeyes offense, but it certainly was not a number 2 team in the country type performance. And again, I think everybody's looking to the coaching box. Urban Meyer's supposed to be one of the best offensive coaches, masterminds in history, and he's got some great talent there on the coaching staff as well, but we can all agree that some of the calls, actually, it was a problem that's come up a few times in Barrett's career. There seems to be a slow start to games sometimes where he just doesn't bring the intensity and the accuracy to his passing that a top-notch quarterback should do. Now, remember, JT Barrett was the Big Ten Player of the Year a couple years back, and he did break his leg. I don't know if that's playing into any of this or not. If he's part of the ground game, that's he looks good. He did rush a lot, but they didn't do many options, and they did not take advantage fully of that extremely potent backfield of J.K. Dobbins and Mike Weber. Personally, I would be starting Mike Weber. That's just my take on things. And maybe in today's game against Army, we'll get a chance to do that. So let's just move right on from Oklahoma. By the way, my score prediction was pretty close. I picked, I said it was going to be 34-11. The final score was 31-16, and unfortunately, it was for the other guys. But I still have mad respect for the Buckeyes, and there's plenty of time to turn this season around. Even a shot at the national championship is not out of question. I'm sure Oklahoma will be number 2 or 3 in the country this week, leapfrogging from number 5. And as far as fixing yourself goes, the Buckeyes will have an opportunity to do that. The Army midshipmen are coming in for the game today down at the Horseshoe. It would seem to me this is a little bit of a no-brainer. The big reason why is the Army offense is designed as a run game. They use the wishbone, the triple option, I think, offense. And they put up pretty big numbers. They put up 60 points in their opening game. They've scored over 100 points in the first 2 games of the season, so they certainly know how to score. But those games were against Buffalo and somebody else that I don't recall. But in other words, the idea that the Buckeyes are going to be able to really focus on rush defense is one of their strengths, should not be a problem. And maybe it will give their receivers a little boost. Their deep backs a little boost of confidence against an Army offense that is pretty much one-dimensional, but very effective no less. Now, of course, we want to salute the men in the military for coming in, playing sports at the Horseshoe. Actually, we'll salute the men in the military anytime. But the idea that Ohio State is in the shoe again, there's a lot of disappointed fans. There's already a lot of grumbling. I want to state for the record that I really appreciate what they do as a team. And being a Buckeyes fan, it's always a good day to be a fan of the Scarlet and Gray, right? So on offense today, I think the keys against Army, really one of the things the Buckeyes have not had for a couple years is a good downfield threat. When you can stretch the defense, that opens up the mid-game of passing, which is really something Barrett does very, very well. And the 7 to 15-yard slants and curlbacks and passes like that, this could be a big strength, and it would also open up more scramble and option opportunities for the Buckeyes. If the safeties can't creep up, that means pretty much good line blocking and a little isolation on linebackers, and you've got 4 to 5 yards, 6 yards per carry, no problem. And that against Oklahoma, that was one of the ironies. The Buckeyes averaged over 5 yards per carry, and that's what they're shooting for. So, you average 5 yards a carry, you're going to win ball games. However, against an elite team that can put up points really quickly, you got to have the passing as well. And we know that Barrett can do it. So the question is it the play calling? Is it Barrett's personal, kind of how he's doing with things? Or is it the receiving core? And we did lose a couple of top receivers from last year's team, but this game is going to be able to prove. I would think the Buckeyes are going to go long and really stretch the field against Army because their defense just is not as fast as the Buckeyes offense. That's my gut take. Now, I thought that was going to be the case in Oklahoma as well, but the Buckeyes, when they needed the big pass, they couldn't do it. So they pounded the ball, and they got good rushing yards, but too little too late, and missed opportunities with some in the end zone as well. And no, let's just face it, Oklahoma came in and kicked our asses. That's just it's a good old-fashioned football whooping. So I don't think Army's going to pull it off as well, and we'll get to the prediction in just a minute. But one of the key things to keep in mind is that if J.T. Barrett keeps playing like this, even though he has done a lot for the Buckeyes in the past, the way the sport works is that if he does not deliver the goods, he will sit one or more games this year. I can see if he has 1 or 2 bad games again, they're going to give number 2, Joey Barrow, the backup quarterback, a shot. Now, this brings us to the topic of today's health and fitness theme. It's all about resilience and bouncing back and how to fix yourself. So in sports, the reason I bring that up too is Barrow had an injury during the summertime, and they weren't sure when he was going to become active to play, but he is going to be available, apparently, according to Coach Meyer. He's going to be available starting today's game, which is going to be important to bring in a number 2 if the number 1 doesn't get it done, right? That's just the rule of sports. So the idea of fixing yourself has to do with getting an intimate understanding of how your body works. And there's different levels of injury that can occur. most people who are performance artists or athletes or daily martial arts or motion arts practitioners know that you carry aches and pains in your body. And there's different levels to see how a pain is feeling inside to know what to do with it. So I like to say you can get bruised and hurt, which generally can go away. You can get injured, which is a little bit more complicated depending on the injury, and you can get broken. And sometimes being broken is easier to fix than being injured, because when it's a soft tissue injury, it can be a longer process than a broken bone. You set the bone, it heals, then you build the muscle back up around it to perform, and you gradually move back into things, for example. With soft tissue injuries, it can be a lot more tricky. And I have a system that I like to do. I deal with aches and pains all the time. I have injured myself a few times in my life, and I've recovered from those. But the first thing you want to do is decide if your injury is dull or sharp. A sharp pain or a dull pain. Is it warm or is it superficial? So is it a deep hurt or is it just something that's on the surface on your skin? Joints, tendons, ligaments, cartilage, bone, these all can go through different things, but they all get wrapped in fascia. Now, fascia is one of the main principles of the DAYMA health and fitness system. The idea that fascia is the fibrous matrix that binds the body together. All your muscles are wrapped in fascia, your internal organs are wrapped in fascia, etc., etc. So when you get an injury, the first thing you have to do is figure out how to reduce swelling and pain. That's what most people want to do. And for sports injuries, my basic medicine is, I just did this yesterday. I've been having some clicking in my knee. I did a lot of running in August and into September. And so the first thing is always ice. So icing for an injury that's a bruise or a contusion, you want to use direct ice cube and rub it on your body. For other injuries that are more swelling and inflammation related, like a clicking knee or a tweaked knee, you got to ice it 5 to 10 minutes, and I recommend doing that probably four times a day if you have the wherewithal. And in the early stages, I do recommend ibuprofen. It's an NSAID. It's an anti-inflammatory drug that's very, very gentle on the body for the most part. It's widely recommended for injury recovery, but really what it does, it helps reduce swelling by increasing the blood flow. Your blood thins a bit, and it helps with removing the natural reaction to an injury, which is when the body pumps liquid or other fluids into the area to protect it. Now, once you get that done, you have to spend a little time with your own hands figuring out what's going on with the injury. And a great way to do that is to probe and press around the injury. I'll use my knee injury as an example to see if there are other parts of your body that are connected to the injury. They're all connected, that. But when I recommend either taking a hot bath or doing something in the sun where you can really relax the muscles and they can get warm and soft. And when you touch the injury, you want to find out where else it's affecting on the body. Every muscle has an origin and an insertion, and sometimes what is perceived as an injury is a tweak based on an imbalance in another part of your body. So these are for minor injuries. By the way, as far as the ibuprofen goes, what I recommend, especially if it's an acute injury, there's a lot of swelling, a lot of pain, 800 milligrams, which is generally 200 milligrams per tablet. So 4 tablets twice a day, and you eat them after meals, and you do that as a burst for the first 2, 3, maybe 5 days. You always want to eat food before ibuprofen because it can be tough on the stomach sometimes. But after that, then you taper it down where you go from 800 to 600, 600 to 400, and then maybe one pill a day, twice a day. And you can wean yourself off it as the injury gets better. So now as far as breaks go, bouncing back, that's a much more tricky wicket. But the good news is that if you take the time to study the DAYMA fitness, health, and performance system, and you learn the stretch routines, they help you understand the mechanics of your body. And in recovery, a lot of people, especially athletes, they externalize their recovery process. They want someone else to fix them a lot of times. They want the massage, they want the doctor, whatever it might be. But learning how to do it yourself is the most essential element of the DAYMA system. Knowing your body is the best healthcare plan you need. because you have the power to fix anything. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy, and it doesn't mean it's going to be fun, but no matter what your injury might be, you can do that. So that's how you bounce back. That's how you can fix a broken wheel. And that's what the Buckeyes need to do tonight. So big game today against Army. Really, it's not a big competition. It's more of a chance for the Buckeyes to use this weekend. You never want to blow off an opponent. I think the Army's going to bring their A game, but I just don't think they have the full magnitude. And the Buckeyes can really show their feathers or show their leaves, I guess, if they're a Buckeye tree, down in Columbus today. So, and remember, this is all about creating the healthiest football fans in the land. We want you to join the club, join the team, be part of our team. You can check us out on DAYMA.us/the Buckeye Broadcast. Every week we'll do a report and we'll give a prediction. Now, I don't gamble, I don't place bets, and I don't encourage it necessarily, but I do like to have fun with the knowledge. So my prediction of today's game, I think the Buckeyes are going to come out big, and I think this is going to be a game where their defense really stymies the Army offense completely. I'm going to say the score is going to be 34-7. 34 for the Bucks, 7 for Army. And if the Buckeyes come out quick, they could score 41. So if they score one or two scores in the first quarter, then it's going to be 41-7. So I'm hedging my bet a little bit, but I'm going to stick with the first one. So thank you for tuning in. It's been a great day to be a fan of the Scarlet and Gray. So wherever you are around the world, go Buckeyes. Bye-bye.